Welcome to Feed the Blender.
What's going on, boys? Welcome to another episode of Feed the Blender. Heard there was some spotty weather in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, no, NATO season with no thunderstorms. Love to see it. Yeah, real weird. I was under
Boring.
warning for an hour today. at work.
Yeah, I was texting my parents during it. They were both in like separate basements, I guess.
It was like the security guard's freaking Super Bowl today.
Yeah.
At work, he was running around like flagging people down, shit like that. Oh my god, he's been waiting all year for this.
Glad we're all good. Glad no NATOs came through your way. It's pretty nice over here out west, up in the Highlands. So before we get into our last divisional breakdown, I did want to go back to, I believe we touched on Shaden Sharp out of Kentucky when we covered Portland. I just kind of want to say I've been watching his preseason games and they might have hit something on that pick. He's looked like outstanding so far. Obviously preseason, so doesn't mean a ton. We'll see what happens in the regular season, but by all means, he's looked really solid so far, and he's looked, every part of a lottery pick. So Portland might have hit on that one.
That's good. I still don't envision them winning more than what we thought, but
Yeah, who knows? But I think we can jump right in unless there's any other NBA news.
well, I mean, Draymond Green knocked out Jordan Poole, so
That did happen. Yep. Do you have any thoughts on that, either of you guys?
I just want to know what was said to cause that.
I mean, Jordan Poole is a Milwaukee guy, so it can only be wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, that meme was geeking me out. I don't know. They're in a very complex situation. Everybody's saying that like the feud or like the issue that happened was like completely like just heat of the exchange, like basketball related, but I don't know how much I buy into that necessarily. You got to feel like that the contract, like the pending contract situations for both players had to have like fueled that like a little bit, I would think.
I don't know.
It's a weird situation because I mean, Golden State is in that dilemma where they need to pick which route that they're going to go. So I do think all of the not memes, but all the speculation of Draymond Green to the Lakers is interesting. But
yeah, and who knows how serious that is. A lot of people around the camp obviously said that it was going to happen, and it's better to have happened preseason rather than halfway through the season. I don't know if he'll face suspension necessarily, but he is away from the team right now. We'll see if that carries over into the season. This is who you have with Draymond. I mean, we all know this is what he does. He's a competitor. He's got obviously 4 rings for a reason. This is kind of just what he brings to the table. You take the good and the bad. And I don't see a future winning wise in Golden State without Draymond. He's so important to them offensively, and obviously defensively, he's a top 10 defender of all time. So it would be stupid to trade him away, in my opinion. But
yeah, we'll see.
Casey, any thoughts on the brawl?
I mean, not really. I think it doesn't look good for Draymond if he's gonna get traded. It's not helping his stock at all to be a problem. So, but who knows? I mean, maybe it was justified. Maybe Jordan Poole was really wild and out, and he needed to be put in his place. But
Yeah.
I mean, until we know what was said for sure, it doesn't really matter.
Yep. But other than that, I think we can just get right into Dallas. Casey, you want to lead that off?
Yeah, I'll lead it off. Having made it to, what was it, the Western Conference Finals last year,
Mm-hmm.
really what was a solid team got beat by the champs pretty easily, in my opinion. So I mean, it's unfortunate to see as a Dallas guy myself. Well, second to the Bucks, maybe. I like Dallas. I like Luka. So really building off of what they had last year, some offseason signings. We'll start with Christian Wood. This is his 7th team in the NBA. It's also his 7th season. Really developed into, in those years, has developed into a solid big man that should complement Luka's play style and Dallas's offense. So for the signing, they had to give up Boban.
Marjanovic, yeah.
Yeah, however you say it. Trey Burke, Marquise Chris, Sterling Brown, and the draft rights to Wendell Moore Jr., who ended up being the 26th overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. None of the guys who were previously on the team were like a huge part of it, really. They didn't do much. Obviously, we can speculate what giving up the draft rights to Moore was, but I mean, who knows? But really something to be considered is they are giving up all that for a guy who last year with the Rockets shot a 39% from behind the arc. So with floor spacing like that, it could really help open up Dallas's offense and should allow for Luka to have more space and to be able to do more of what he wants. And then he also averaged 10 boards and 19 points a game. So he's a double threat game in and game out, which as a guy who could be a good number 2 option is really interesting. You guys want to have anything you want to add right away?
I like the trade. I mean, as you touched on, every single one of those guys that they traded for him, they're not huge contributors, nor are they young guys. They've all been in the league for a fair amount. So you're not giving up a ton of like prospects or anything. And it's the right move after, seemingly not capitalizing on Jalen Brunson's career year. They needed to bring in another guy who's going to contribute big numbers and to surround Luka with. So I like the move. I like the fit. As you said, spacing is going to be great. Luka's going to be able to find him, and he's going to be able to spot up and shoot and knock down at a high clip. So, I mean, we'll see obviously how it pans out, but on paper, it's a good trade.
Yeah, most definitely. Serge, you got anything you want to add, or all right? Another signing was Jaden Hardy. Sorry. They had to trade into the draft to get this guy, so they sent their 2nd round pick to Washington in the deadline day deal that brought Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to Dallas for Kristaps Porzingis. I think really, I mean, this is a draft guy, so we don't know what he's going to do quite yet. He was in the G League last year, so he's got potential and whatnot. I think one of the key points of this whole trade that they did here did send Porzingis away. I think that whole situation with Luka didn't work the way that they expected it to, where like they just weren't a match for each other. Like Wood has the potential to be a match. So we'll see how that affects, I guess, their offense and whatnot. I mean, we don't know yet, but obviously 2 different players. But
yeah, it'll be really interesting to see like what they do with their like starting rotation, because they do have plenty of options. I mean, Powell was a big guy for them last year, and then they brought in JaVale McGee to basically say like, you're going to be our starting center and Powell's going to be the rotation guy. So adding that, and then obviously bringing in Christian Wood, like Dorian Finney-Smith got serious minutes last year, especially in the playoffs. So I'll be really curious to see like how they all kind of like battle it out through training camp and the preseason for like those like key starting roles. So I think they have like a fun lineup that they could, potentially like roll into the season with. So
yeah. And I believe they promised JaVale McGee the rookie, or not the rookie, the starting spot at the center.
Yeah, that's what Jason Kidd had said as soon as they signed him, he's going to start. So, Christian, and I would hope so, because we can, I guess we'll skip Theo Pinson for the moment because it's a rather unimportant signing, but JaVale McGee was Dallas's biggest offseason acquisition. I mean, they're giving him 3 years and just north of 17 million. So with Dallas's struggles to rebound and protect the rim, especially in the postseason, this was something that I think that they were focusing on really, really heavily. And then also gives Luka a good pick and roll partner. I mean, really also experience. The man's won 3 rings in the last 6 years. So he's got what it takes to make it all the way, basically. And I mean, I guess the biggest concern with JaVale is like his minutes. How much is he going to be able to play, especially once you get into after the full season and into the postseason, it might be limited. So we'll just have to watch that, I guess.
And that's kind of the cool thing with like having like Dwight Powell then as the backup, because Powell got like some pretty serious minutes last year, and they provide a really like diverse set of offensive skills, because like Powell can like fade out to the corner and shoot threes, whereas like JaVale's gonna set up. I mean, he can. They did. And like that was part of the offense last year, was space the floor, and he put up a probably unfortunate amount of 3-pointers in the postseason.
He virtually wasn't playing in the playoffs. They actually just started going 5 out, and we're switching almost everything on defense.
Fair. So I guess it'll be interesting, like who I think like the 3 spot will be really interesting to see who they put there, because I honestly think it's going to be between Reggie Bullock and, I mean, him and Dorian Finney-Smith are the same size. So there's no.
Finney-Smith is more of a 4 naturally, and Bullock will probably play the 3. I think something to keep in mind is Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to be coming back this year.
Oh yeah, I anticipate him as a starting 2 guard.
Right.
So, and yeah, he was beat up all year last year and didn't really play a ton, and got healthy like just in time for the postseason. Or I think he got like healthy during the postseason.
He didn't play during the postseason. But you're gonna. I mean, you add him back to the starting lineup, and that's like an 18-point a game guy that shoots, lights out from 3. So just another ball handler to take some pressure off of Luka.
But anyway, I guess going into the last notable signing that I had saw was the Theo Pinson, who was brought back on a 1-year veteran minimum deal. So initially brought when Dallas faced COVID or an outbreak, at least in 2021. I think it was December, on a 10-year deal, and then he stuck around through the rest of the season in the playoffs. But not really having a roster spot had a good impact on the bench and the locker room. So I mean, nothing real notable about him, but we'll see, I guess.
Wilder's getting like Veterans League minimum, and he's only been in the league for 5 years.
I mean, that's today's day and age veteran, though. There's not a ton of guys that have been in the league for more than 10 years. So,
But I guess, I mean, we highlighted the notable signings, in my opinion. It's going to be Christian Wood and JaVale McGee, unless you guys think there's one that I'm missing.
Those are the 2 big ones.
Yeah. Really top 7 players. Like Luka is an obvious choice. Christian Wood, if we'll see how he goes, but I think he's going to be a big impact to the team. JaVale McGee, Spencer Dinwiddie, Tim Hardaway Jr. I threw Jaden Hardy in there just because could have an impact. Obviously, we don't know. I'm just, I guess, thinking maybe.
Got some talent.
We'll
I
see.
want him to play in the G League. He's pretty damn good. Nice 6'5" shooting guard.
Yeah. Starting lineups there will be some changes, I guess, with their signings. JaVale McGee's going to make his way into there. I guess beyond that.
I was thinking of Bertans. That's what I was thinking of. As the dude that would stretch the floor and shoot corner 3s.
Big time. Yeah. Definitely. Bertans knocks it down at a high clip. That's when you said Powell, I was like, dog, no.
No. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, you're good. I figured that was just a blimp, but
I just figured you were stupid. That's all.
never. Yeah, he's obviously Powell's more of a just a high flying rim runner than like a lob threat more than anything.
Yep.
Keep going.
But yeah, really beyond that, like off the bench, I had Spencer Dinwiddie and Tim Hardaway as they're going to be real big threats. And then I guess the real step forward that this whole team made was the adding of Wood to a fairly strong defensive group. It's only going to become better. So I think the areas that they struggled there, it's going to impact them in a real positive way. But beyond that, I mean, that's really what I had for this group.
Yeah, I just think they're really putting. I mean, defensively, I do agree with you. I do think they're a lot better this year, or like what they did this offseason. They're a lot better going into like a potentially like another postseason run. The biggest question mark that I think that this team is going to have is they're putting a lot of pressure on basically Luka, Dinwiddie, and Hardaway Jr. to make sure that they have enough offense to win them games. So, and those are three guys that do prefer to get their buckets off the dribble. So they're really going to need for then those, more so role players and 3 and D players to step up and hit those shots. Just because I feel like you're asking a lot out of your guards to win you and keep you in games. So
Yeah, and Luke is obviously going to have a very high usage rate for basically like the 4th or 5th year in a row now.
I have Luka as my front runner for MVP this year.
And it only makes sense. I mean, if they win over 45 games this year and he's putting up crazy numbers, it would only make sense. So anything else, or do you want to move on to Houston?
We can move on. That's all I had.
Cool. Yeah, so Houston Rockets, obviously bottom of the litter in the league, finished 20-62 last year, 15th in the West. Pretty bad.
Woo!
Yeah, ton of young talent, obviously. Draft Jabari Smith Jr. with the 3rd pick. As KZ mentioned, trade away Christian Wood, get a bunch of guys who are just basically 8 through 15 roster spots, nothing to brag about. And excluding Wendell Moore, I mean, all these guys have been in the league. So these are clearly moves for cap space reasons, as Christian Wood was, I believe, their 2nd highest paid player behind Eric Gordon last year. So
making $14 million a year right now.
Yeah. So, and with that being said, Eric Gordon also has been named in a bunch of trade rumors. So we'll see if they end up trading him away. I mean, he's really the only veteran on this roster who's, a legitimate ball player. They kind of last year went with the experiment of having Kevin Porter Jr. be their point guard. At times it looked great. Times it looked really bad. He's super inefficient, obviously from the field. Not a bad 3-point shooter, but all around he's not an actual point guard, and they're not going to win a ton of games with him running the point. The big guy, obviously, that they drafted, 2nd overall last year, Jalen Green. Dude's a baller. He
picked it up like second half of the season.
Yeah, he is that good, and I think they're going to put the ball in his hands a bit more this year. Let him do his thing and try to figure out his role in the league. He had 17 points a game last year, 2.5 assists, go with 3.5 rebounds. Probably want to get his 3-point percentage up. It was at 34% on a pretty high volume last year. A little bit inefficient from the field, but that's to be expected from a rookie who's basically was told just to chuck,
He's doing a lot of that off the dribble too, which I feel like once they really start to get some better pieces around him, that'll become more of a jump or a drive or a kick and shoot situation. So I definitely feel like that number will improve.
Right. Yeah, and then obviously they're going to try to see what they have in Jabari Smith Jr. They were planning on getting Paolo, and then Orlando kind of threw a wrench into that. And Jabari Smith kind of fell into their lap, and we'll see. I mean, he had a great freshman year at Auburn last year in a really tough SEC conference. Put up 17 a game, 2 assists, and 7.5 rebounds a game. Shot 42% from 3, which for a power forward, that's pretty legit. So, I mean, that the team's nothing to brag about. They're gonna be bottom of the litter. I would assume they're gonna tank, try to get one of those top 7 guys, because this draft class, and we'll make a episode about this draft class at some point in the year. I have my notes started already for that. This is going to be a really strong draft class, and Houston's going to be a front runner for the lottery pick. So I think this year is just player development. Steven Silas has been nothing but player development. He's done a really nice job so far. So yeah, again, this is nothing to brag about. They're going to lose a ton of games, but they do have what looks like a good young core so far. So, we'll see. We'll see what they do with this year. As far as young talent goes, aside from the obvious two, Jabari Smith and Jalen Green, you got a guy off the bench who played with Jalen Green in high school named Josh Christopher. Undersized combo guard, 6'3", second year out of Arizona State. He was their second round pick last year. He's not a great shooter. He's kind of a streaky, like he'll get you 20 some nights, and then he'll go like 0 for 5 from 3 some nights, but he was all right. He's a good passer. They're probably looking for him to kind of be Lou Williams type of player, just a nice spark off the bench. He had 8 points a game last year, 2 assists, 2.5 boards. Like I said, pretty inefficient. He shot 30% from 3, which is not good. But, they'll look for him to take a step. And if he's been working on his game, and who knows, if he gets his 3-point percentage up to 37, 38, like that's, carve out a nice role. The other guy I wanted to mention is Kenyon Martin Jr., son of Kenyon Martin, obviously longtime NBA player, drafted by the Nets, went to 2 finals. His son, while not as tall, still has that athleticism, the high flying, rim running that Kenyon Martin was all about. And Kenyon Martin Jr. has actually been really good. He's in his 3rd year, all 3 at Houston. He's a good defender, switches really well, can guard up a position, kind of like that perfect hybrid 3.5 in betweener guy, kind of like a Jay Crowder, Royce O'Neal kind of prospect. Big body, 6'6" guy, shoots like 36% from 3, which, that's pretty decent for a 4. But with Christian Wood leaving, as Casey mentioned before, he'll get a crack at that starting lineup. And at the very least, he'll get a bump in minutes. And I think he could actually have a nice role in the rotation. So, yeah, I mean, other than that, like I said, it's Houston. They're not going to be great. They're going to be competing for a lottery spot, which means they're going to be losing a ton of games. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun young team. They're much like Detroit in that sense, where they might compete in the first 20 games, but they're going to be a fun team to watch nonetheless.
Yeah, it's gonna take some time, but they'll get there eventually. So, and when they get there, I think they're gonna be scary good. So
yeah, because Jalen Green looks really good, and boy was he good at Ignite. So
yes,
that's all I have. Unless Kyle, you have anything for Houston?
No, not really. I didn't really focus on them a whole lot this year, just because they were so
bad.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to watch teams that aren't that great. So, but I mean, honestly, it seems like they've been in this rebuild period for a couple of years. So we'll see if it
we'll see what
eventually pays out for them.
Yeah.
And if they're that threat that they were I don't know, what was that, like 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, when Harden was there.
Yeah. So,
Right.
I mean, it was always fun watching them when that was the case, but for now, not so much. So,
And I'll give their front office credit. The turnaround and the blow up of that Harden-led Houston Rockets team to now already have a core in such a short amount of time. Looking forward, having a couple lottery picks. They're going to get a third lottery pick probably this year. That's a really fast turnaround, and it's really impressive. You know, Daryl Morey obviously left for Philly, and I believe, what is it, Rafael Stone or whatever his name is, came in, and I mean it's impressive to turn around a franchise that fast. You know, obviously
yeah, and in a
yeah,
tougher division too, or the
Right.
tougher of the two divisions.
right. So yeah, I mean, it's the story of this Houston team is what's going to happen in the future, not the present. So, but with that being said, I think we can move on to the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, I feel like their offseason this year was pretty underwhelming. They acquired Danny Green from Philly in that D'Anthony Melton trade. They also got a first-round pick in that trade. And then they re-signed Tyus Jones. Other than that, they didn't really have any major acquisitions. For the first time since we've been doing this, I put like off-season losses as like a part of my setup here. Obviously, I think the biggest one being the D'Anthony Melton trade to Philly. I think that's a pretty huge.
Slow-mo too.
Huh?
Slow-mo too. Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, that one. That's my next one. So they lost him to the T-Wolves in free agency. So those are two major losses from a body's perspective, and then another loss that I have right now is Jaren Jackson Jr.'s foot injury. So
That's tough.
stress fracture in his right foot, had off-season surgery. I believe it was back in June or July. So they originally gave him a 4 to 6 month time frame for return. And last week, Taylor Jenkins said that he's recovered actually a lot better than what they expected so far.
Mhm.
And he's on pace and he's practicing, just like still no contact. So no delays, which is really good to hear. So I think they're anticipating him back sooner rather than later. But still, big guy, foot injury. Don't really want to mess with that all that much. Starting five, I mean, there's nothing really to say. It's basically what they had going last year. So obviously you have Ja at the point guard. As much as I want to say like their success relies on whether or not he's durable or not, they've really gone to prove otherwise, given like how many games they consistently won last year when he didn't play. So
Regular season wise, for sure, not playoffs.
regular season for sure. You need him in the playoffs. My biggest question mark that I've seen so far with Ja right now is like his durability, because I mean he's a high flyer. He plays with high energy. He just, as he moves through his career, he needs to be careful with like what he's doing and like what he's going after, because you can only sustain that for so long before, God forbid you truly get hurt, like a Derrick Rose or
Yeah.
so.
Let's all knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood on that. He needs to be careful. Is the whole moral of that story. But I mean, fantastic year last year, 27 a game, 6.7 assists, almost 6 boards. I want to see him improve his 3-point numbers a little bit. He didn't shoot the greatest from 3 last year, shot 34%. But again, huge asset to the team, high energy. He's definitely their starting point guard for the future here.
Oh yeah.
Moving into the 2 guard, Desmond Bane, great year last year, 18 a game. Going into what, his second or third year now?
This will be his third year. Last year was his second year out of TCU. Go Horn Frog.
Yeah, great young player. I'm all about like the undersized like 2 guard. Like that's just kind of, I mean, I can't shoot for shit, but like that's how I always felt like when we play basketball. It's like I'm the smaller, 2 there. But I mean, 18 points a game, 4.5 boards, almost 3 assists, but like 44% from 3 as a second-year player.
Elite.
Bananas.
Elite.
Just absolutely bananas. So it's crazy like how much young talent they have in their like starting rotation. So love his game. Basically 3-and-D, undersized, plays good defense. Like just love to see it all around.
Yeah.
Small forward Dylan Brooks, again, right around 18.4 a game last year, 3.2 boards, 2.8 assists, shot 43% from the field. Again, young guy. No, yeah, I'm right. He's a younger guy still.
Yeah, he was Lonzo's draft class.
Yeah. So he's going into year 6 here out of Oregon. And then just moving right into the power forward, Brandon Clark, 10 a game, 5 boards.
He's
Just
good.
over a block. Just over a block, 64% from the field, like super efficient, close to the rim guy. Going into year 4.
Hmm.
So just super young. They're going to be a lot of fun to watch, as they were last year, and as they will continue to be for the next several years to come, as long as they can keep that young core intact. And then obviously Jaren Jackson Jr., once he's recovered from surgery, he'll be the starting 5.
He'll be the starting 4. Steven Adams starts at the 5.
That works.
And then Clark will come off the bench most likely.
Got it. I assume Clark's going to start at the 4 then in the interim, and then Adams obviously
Big time. Which a great
Works.
replacement. Yeah, that'll be perfect.
Yeah, so super young core. They're fun to watch. My biggest thing with Jaren Jackson Jr. is he needs to improve his offensive efficiency a little bit. And then, not getting into foul trouble 3 minutes into every game is going to be huge. So,
Yeah, that was rough last year in the playoffs.
it's just like 2 take fouls in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
What are we doing right now?
Yeah, that's just a young player in his first playoff run. I mean, that's to be expected.
Yeah. So, and that's exactly what I have here. It's just foul trouble early, realistically, just due to being a young player in the league. I'm sure his patience will come over time. So, a lot more upsides to him than downs. So, Memphis is a fun team. Again, I really put them in like the same wheelhouse as Denver, is that they're a team that I really don't want to go up against in the early rounds of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're
So,
pretty fearless for a young team. Fucking A. Sure.
I don't think that they'll have the same success that they had last year, just given like they're just slightly worse based off of their off season. But I mean, I still think they're a playoff team, probably hovering right around the 5 or the 4 seed if some teams get hot at the right time or cold at the wrong time. So then they'll be fun to watch, but I'm more excited to see like what New Orleans is going to do next year rather than Memphis. So
Before we move into New Orleans, I should ask Kyle, did you have anything you wanted to say about Memphis?
No, I'll just reiterate the points that really they were a fun team. I enjoyed watching them in the postseason. It was a team that you're not used to rooting for, but just because of their energy and because of, just they were fun to watch, especially with Ja yamming on dudes. You always love to watch that.
Yeah, he's damn good.
yeah, threatening to make people feel what hollows feel like or whatever his tweet was.
Arguably one of the wildest things I've ever seen tweeted by a professional sports player.
Yeah.
That's a bit aggressive.
Yeah. All right. New Orleans. The New Orleans Pelicans.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun year for them, that's for sure. Off-season acquisitions, they drafted Dyson Daniels from the G League, Ignite. I assume him and Jalen Green played, or did they play together or no?
No.
You're different. Okay. Well, same sort of background then, or team-wise as Jalen Green. I'm unfamiliar with this game, but drafted him 8th overall, so lottery pick has to be worth something there. And then they extended CJ McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and obviously the biggest one being Zion. So pretty decent offseason for them. I think the extensions for CJ McCollum and Zion are pretty important to that team being relevant. Obviously Zion more than McCollum, but to each their own. I have their starting 5. The point guard is kind of just a toss-up to me. I don't really I don't know. I have Jose Alvarado as their starting point guard, which I don't necessarily know how I feel about that.
No, he'll probably be the backup.
To whom
Um,
is the question?
my
'Cause
guess is
They have
it's
Kira
gonna be
Lewis
CJ.
Jr. You think CJ is going to bring the ball up, and then what? Start Herb Jones the two?
Because see, it's tough. It's tough
Yeah,
because
it's tough.
Najee Marshall also got a ton of play at the point guard last year.
Najee Marshall or Devontae Graham?
Najee Marshall,
It's pretty wild because he's 6'7". So
Xavier product.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
point
no,
guard position is definitely like the biggest like question mark behind like how they want to swing it.
I want to say CJ started a majority of the games last year. I'll look it up while you talk.
But yeah, so the point guard is the biggest area that I have like a question mark on who can be there consistently night in and night out as the starter. I mean, I don't hate CJ being there, but I mean, CJ is such a natural two that it would make more sense for them to at least get somebody else to start there, especially if you can get like 10, 12 points from them consistently.
He started at the point last year.
CJ McCollum.
Yeah, I think, and I wouldn't say that he's a natural two. He played the two with Damian Lillard, but he is an undersized two at the end of the day, and he's a good distributor.
Yeah,
But you're
that's
right. It's a question of where are the assists going to come from,
right.
but
Correct.
he did a solid job running that offense.
I mean, since he joined the team, like right before, like that trade was at the trade deadline, I believe.
Yeah.
But I mean, since he joined the team, he averaged just over 24 a game, 4.5 boards, almost 6 assists, and 1.3 steals, 39% from three. So had himself a really, really solid year, which I feel like is a really hard thing to come by, being traded at the deadline. I mean, CJ is on the other side of 30 here, on the north side of 30. So for you to just walk into like a young core like that and be like, I mean, you guys are still gonna like get your shots, but like I'm still gonna walk in and put up almost 25 a game. So
yeah, he was a difference maker. I mean, they went on a run as soon as they picked him up. I mean, he meant the world to that team last year and provided huge clutch minutes for them especially in the playoffs. I mean, he was going bucket for bucket with Chris Paul and Devin Booker.
Yeah, he's going to be a huge like veteran asset to that team, and it's going to be really fun to watch that young core grow as, you know, CJ really moves into probably like definitely the back quarter of his career, that's for sure. And then obviously Brandon Ingram, he's going to be the three, average close to 23 a game, almost 6 boards, close to 6 assists. I think he's going to have a really good year next year. It's really hard to like look at their at least 4 out of the 5 starting spots here and see like where their weak link is going to be. Because I mean, Zion's going to come back, and I'm assuming he's going to be a menace just based off of how he was in that 2020-2021 season, with averaging 27 a game on 61% from the field.
It's unbelievable, his numbers.
Yeah,
so like
they're going to be insanely fun to watch. And then, I mean, shit, I think Jonas Valanciunas had like probably one of like the top 3 like years of his career last year, putting up almost 18 points a game and over 11 boards.
Yeah, he's a walking double-double.
Yeah, walking double-double in double-digit like years on his career, like didn't show any signs of slowing down. So once they can figure out like what that last piece is going to be in their starting 5, like this team is deep and they're young.
Yeah. Well, because you have, obviously, as you touched on, Alvarado off the bench. You have Najee. You have, you know, Larry Nance Jr. was giving him great minutes. Herb Jones was awesome off the bench. Jackson Hayes as a rim running guy. Like, this team actually should be competing for like one of those top 6 spots.
Yeah, 100%. I have them probably as my gatekeeper in the West at 6.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair.
I think they're going to be a a blast to watch. They're just they're super exciting, and it's really awesome for the NBA to see at least out of the West that I can think of off the top of my head, or even in the East with like Toronto, and I mean Detroit will be good in a few years, but like it's really, or I'll mention Cleveland more than Detroit, but it's really cool to see these like small market teams like really start to get competitive and like makes like actual playoff runs and compete with the LAs and the New Yorks and the Bostons and stuff like that. So they'll be a ton of fun to watch, and they're.
And I gotta interrupt you here. This should be mentioned, and this might be the first Ian Nickel shout out. Ian Nickel live just sent me a post from Caitlin Clark, aka the Big Ten Women's Player of the Year, aka his bae. Ian, he's in love.
Speaking of an Ian Nickel shout out,
Yeah, look at.
Her arms are bigger than my head, dude.
She is cold. She's the female Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Thank you for that, Ian.
But to keep on the Ian train,
Yeah,
not a bad take on Zion Williamson. So Ian doesn't believe in the hype, which I just think is vastly inappropriate. Numbers don't lie, and 27 a game on 61% from the field is disgusting.
Yeah.
So
second year in the NBA, he put up
second
those
year in the
numbers.
NBA. Yeah, correct.
So
dudes of that size should not be as athletic as he is.
and Stan Van Gundy had him bringing the ball up at the point.
Yeah.
Which is just like, what?
Yeah, it's like
Here's 280 pound Zion bringing the ball up. Like, what?
Nobody's gonna want to step in front of him.
No,
Like, I don't care who you are. Unless you're that kid from that Memphis just drafted. He ain't stepping in front of him. So
Roddy.
yeah.
I
But
know you're talking about Kenneth Lofton.
Yeah, Kenneth Lofton. But yeah, nothing but up here for New Orleans. I think they have a very good young core around them. CJ McCollum is going to be the undoubted like leader to this franchise. All they need is to like stay healthy and execute. And again, they're right in the same wheelhouse as Denver and Memphis as teams that I don't want to come near in the first round of the playoffs. And they proved that last year with giving the Suns a run for the money without Zion.
They gave them all they could handle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing should be mentioned, Zion looks awesome in the preseason.
Looks like he's down like 20 pounds. Like 20.
In shape body-wise, I mean, he looks great, but like, I don't know if you've watched any of his preseason games yet. Okay, you haven't, but he looks phenomenal. Like, he's hitting threes. It should be mentioned, Jonas Valanciunas is stepping out and hitting threes. If he starts stretching the floor, it's like, what? This team, man, this is going to be scary.
Yeah, let's put the center out in the corner really quick, and then you know what? Let's put Zion on the block so his defender can try and like prevent him from backing him down. Like there's gonna be so many options to like run their offense. It's gonna be incredible.
And with Zion and Jonas Valanciunas at the 4 and 5 respectively, they're gonna eat up a ton of offensive boards.
Yes,
like this team is gonna get a ton of second chance opportunities. And they have efficient guys. That's a recipe to put up a ton of points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So this team is one of the most exciting teams to watch this year, and I cannot wait to watch their games. I'm going to be tuning into a lot of big easy games this year.
Hell yeah, I'm right there with you, Kyle. Anything to add here on the
team play? So really, like, his injuries and what's been keeping him off the court has been really disappointing, because the hype around him coming into the league was tremendous, and then really it's been kind of a bust up until, a bust to watch him play is what I mean, not his talent. Like, we just haven't got a lot of them, really. So
And it's crazy,
kind of
like- Yeah.
unfortunate.
Yeah, and it's crazy because I mean, like we've been watching highlights of Zion since he was like 14 or 15 at this point.
I got a message that I sent my dad on Facebook from when Zion was a sophomore in high school of me telling my dad how good this guy's going to be.
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy because I mean, we really got robbed of seeing him play on the collegiate level, just based off of his injury.
I mean, they went to an Elite Eight.
They went to an Elite Eight, yes, but like he missed majority of that season is like the point that I'm making. He was out like 8 to 12 weeks. That's like half the season.
No, he played a decent amount, but you're talking about the knee injury that happened in the shoe, right?
Yeah.
That's what you're referencing. Yeah, no, he missed maybe like 6 games because of that. We're looking it up right now. Yeah, I mean he played in 33 games.
That's fair. Okay, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
Sorry. That
No,
college ball is where I
Yeah,
excel.
where-
So
that is where you excel.
yeah, I mean he's the real deal. And as we were touching on before, obviously has had injuries in the NBA, but the full season that he did play, or I count it as a full season. I think he played like 61 games out of 82, which is 75% of the games. That's a full season.
Well, yeah, and it was COVID. It was 2020, 2021. So 61 games in a game that, or in a year that wasn't completely played out.
Was it 72 games? Right? Total.
Something like that, yeah.
So more, 80% of the games that year he played in put up just stupid numbers and was a walking top 10 offense and was an all NBA player. So like, yes, like the hype was up here. Yes, like he's been injured, but like he's more than proven his worth on the NBA court, and he's more than proven how good of a player he was.
Yeah, and I mean, this year is just going to be so wild for him. I feel like this is going to be like the most like normal year that we like see out of him, because like his like rookie season, yes, it was a small sample size. He only played 24 games, but he shot almost 43% from 3.
Yeah.
And in the year that he played like majority of his games, I would obviously assume it was on higher volume, but he shot closer to 30. So even if he like splits and just like shoots at like a 35% from 3, again for a 4,
Yeah.
pretty freaking nuts. And then I mean, he's averaging between the two seasons that he played, he's averaging 8 free throw attempts a game, and he's only putting up like 70% from the line.
Yeah, he eats up for like offensive fouls.
Eats up offensive fouls, shooting them right around 68% from the free throw line. Definitely somewhere that can be improved. And it's just like, okay, shit, we're sending this guy to the line almost 10 times a game, and he's making 8 of them, or like just improves it like a little bit. He's making 8 of them. Like he's gonna be unstoppable.
And one of the things, if you've watched a lot of NBA games and you've been around the game for a while, one of the things that you can tell about how good of a player someone is how often they get to the free throw line throughout a game. And to shoot, right around double-digit free throws per game, that's a sign that this guy is that good. I mean, every superstar gets to the free throw line a lot. And yeah, I mean, he's real deal. And just to add him into this offense that was already cooking last year, they have a lot of swagger, and they're, again, like Memphis, they're going to be fearless.
Yep. Yeah, that's really all I have on them. So
all right, we can move to Tanky McTank, the San Antonio Spurs. It's weird to see a Greg Popovich led team be bad for this amount of years in a row. They finished 34-48 last year, which is 10th of the West. Got rid of 2 of their biggest contributors, DeJounte Murray and Lonnie Walker. This team is, this probably the worst team in the NBA. They're probably going to win the lowest amount of games in the NBA. They're probably going to have a first-class ticket to the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. really the only starter or they have two starters returning to the lineup in Jakob Pertl and Keldon Johnson. And I'll talk about Keldon Johnson in a little bit, but this team it stinks. They're not going to be a team that most people are tuning into. It's going to be kind of like a by default team to watch. Yeah,
The team that you're gonna watch because your team is playing them.
yeah, exactly. They're just not good, and they're not trying to be good, So as far as their starting lineup goes, like I said, they returned two guys from last year. Trey Jones is probably going to get the starting position now, brother of Tyus on Memphis. Obviously, DeJounte Murray leaves, so that point guard position is going to be open. And Trey Jones is a fine player. I mean, he's got to get his 3-point percentage up. I think he shot like 20% last year, which is just god awful. Yeah, and I mean, he is like a pretty prototypical Greg Popovich kind of player. Like he's a real high IQ player, makes a lot of really like smart decisions on the court. So in that sense, I mean, it's a good fit, but he's a bottom 5 point starting point guard in the league. And that's nothing against him. It's just, that's the, fact of the matter. So at the 2 position, Josh Richardson, who obviously a sharpshooter, been in the league for like 7 or 8 years now. He's kind of been a journeyman, but a good, solid veteran player. Keldon Johnson, again, I'll talk about him in a little bit. He'll be starting at the 3. Doug McDermott's going to be at the 4. I mean, that's where the state of this team is Doug McBuckets is at the 4, which Creighton shout out.
Biggie shout out.
One of the all-time great college players. And then obviously Jakob Pertl at the 5. I mean, again, this is going to be a tank team. This is going to be a Victor Wembanyama hopeful team. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be rough for San Antonio fans for another year.
At least.
Yeah, at least. But well, whatever. I mean, that just comes with being a small market team that hasn't lucked out in lottery picks and has remained competitive. I mean, they're essentially the West version of Indiana, the way I look at it.
Yeah,
they're just always middle of the pack.
Yeah.
If they're not really good. So that's just, it's unfortunate, but that happens. And as I mentioned before, there's 2 guys I'm intrigued by, and the biggest one, obviously, and probably their best player, Keldon Johnson, 6'5" wing out of Kentucky, is in his 4th year. His numbers are going to be inflated this year because he's
high volume.
Yeah, he's the only offensive talent. He had 17 a game last year, 2 assists and 6 rebounds, shot 40% from 3. Big body, really good downhill, really good transition player. I look forward to watching him play. And then the other is Romeo Langford. They got him in that Derek White trade from Boston. Obviously, in his 2 years at Boston, he was playing behind Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So there's really nothing you can do as a wing. I think he's got a good skill set. He hasn't had a chance, like I said, to show it off just because he had to play behind 2 of the top 10 wings in the league, or 2 of the top 15, 20, however you want to look at it. Tatum obviously being top 10. But in a Popovich-led offense, Romeo Langford should be pretty damn good. Again, high IQ, good size, 6'4" wing.
Good system player too, out of Indiana.
Yeah. So he'll get a green light. I mean, as all these guys are. Again, this is just not a good team. So he'll get chances. We'll see how he does. He was a good player in college. I don't think, like I said, he got his chance in Boston, and hopefully he takes advantage because he's got some talent. So, but yeah, this is a tank team. This is, again, the worst team in the league. So I'm not excited at all about this team. Do you guys have anything on these? these San Antonio Spurs?
No, I think it'll be a race to the bottom between them and Utah. I did have a conversation with one of my coworkers today that I thought was interesting, and I obviously don't think it's going to be the case, but so Charlotte just said that LaMelo has like a grade 2 ankle sprain and he's going to miss the first few weeks of the season.
So stupid.
Why play him at all?
I get it.
Like, why not? Like, I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
why not sit him for the year, trade Rozier and Hayward, and then go after Victor, and then that's your key, or like that's your cue for LaMelo being like, here, we're gonna pay you, and we're getting you Victor. Like, go win a ring.
Yeah. No, I get that.
But like,
But it's like, I don't know. I'd rather, and this is me looking at it. I'd rather just keep letting him develop. They're gonna lose games no matter what.
yeah,
Not play him and then make up a stupid injury 40 games into the season,
yeah. You know what? You put up 28 a game.
Yeah. I mean, that's what OKC did with Shy.
Yeah.
Like, what did he have? Tendonitis?
Yeah, something. I mean, OKC should consider doing that again this year.
And I think they might. So
Could you imagine Chet and Victor with Shy? Like,
with Poku.
yeah, with Poku, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know. Nothing good to say about San Antonio.
Kyle?
Great city.
Really, my biggest question is like, would you think that their lack of being able to come back, like they're being bad this many years, is because they aren't that bottom of the table team, yet they're still finding ways to win and come in like 10th place, which won't give you the best draft picks. So you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot of the Greg Popovich system being so good, finding ways to win still, that it's not a tank ever. It could be in the future, but the past seasons it hasn't been. So that's why they're just so average or below average. It would be my
Yeah, it's the same thing that goes on with Indiana, whereas like they're never ever going to commit to like fully tanking just because they're a team that's been around for a long time and they have the history of like Reggie Miller and beyond that. And then obviously Popovich has coached in this league for probably over 30 years at this point, and I mean he won 5 rings, so his system has proven to work. But it's just the fact of the matter is if you don't ever commit like Utah's doing now, or what Houston did a few years ago with just being bad and accepting that you're bad, you're never going to be able to build back unless you're like a big market team. So that's why the Bears suck, because we won't commit to being bad.
You're a big market.
yeah.
But we suck. We suck at sucking.
Fair enough. Yeah, that's all I have. Should we move on to trivia and finish this up?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Staying on the tanking for Victor Wembanyama train. He'll seemingly be the number 1 pick this year, obviously from France. The question is, can you boys name the last 3 overall number 1s that weren't from America? The hint is they've all been from 2015 to present. So who were the last 3 non-American number 1 picks?
Luka's one.
Nope, he was not the number 1 pick.
Oh yeah, he was like 2 or 3.
But same draft class.
Are they all Europeans?
Not a single one.
Huh. This is tough. It shouldn't be, but it is.
Yeah.
And none of them are European.
Nope.
Can we get a hint on where they're from?
There's
Not that it's even gonna help me still.
one that'll probably help. Australia. I'll give you that one.
Dude, what the fuck?
I'm gonna say all these, and you're gonna be like, "God damn it!" Who's from Australia? That was the number 1 pick. Again, this is from
Ben Simmons.
There you go. Ben Simmons is one. 2016 draft class. Like I said, who went number 1 overall in Lucas?
I don't know. I'm blanking on that one. Luca was what, 2017?
2018. You guys give up?
Well, what were the years? So it was 2016, 2018, and then what was the other one?
2015.
Yeah, I quit.
Kyle?
Yeah, I don't know.
This was an embarrassment.
Yeah.
So it starts with 2015, Carl Anthony Towns from the Dominican Republic, and DeAndre Ayton in 2018 from the Bahamas.
I would have literally never got that ever. I don't know the nationalities of NBA players very well.
All right.
Cat being from the Dominican Republic surprises me. That I didn't know. Which
Yeah.
Ayton I should have guessed. That's the one that I'm pissed about.
In 2022, it looks like we're gonna have another one. Or it's
What's
there's
that?
someone. Oh, never mind.
And then the second trivia question is name that player. I'm going to start with the team they got drafted by. You know the rules, and then go through every team they've been on. This one should be pretty easy. Drafted by Orlando Magic, went to the Lakers, then to the Rockets, then to the Hawks, then to the Hornets.
Dwight Howard.
Yes, sir. Correct. There you go.
Wow.
And that is the
Impressive.
last of the divisional breakdowns.
Sensational.
Next episode, we will start getting into it. It'll be more reactionary. Look forward to the season starting.
Opening night is when? Tuesday or Wednesday?
I think it's next Wednesday. I thought it was like the 19th.
Emergency pod for the opening tips.
Do you want to do
Do that.
all right. So there you go.
Week.
Alrighty, boys, it's been a pleasure.
Yep. Cheers.
Cheers.